The first time I saw those HOA signs stabbed into my road, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes your brain refuses to believe that kind of stupidity is real. Then I shut off the truck, stared through the windshield, and felt that slow heat start climbing up my neck. 4 orange signs lined up neat as soldiers standing in my gravel telling the world this was an HOA-managed road for residents only. My name's Wade Mercer, and I develop land for a living, which means I don't get emotional about property lines, I get exact. 2 years before those signs showed up, I bought 12 rural acres with no direct highway access, then bought a separate strip just to build my own private road in. My plans, my crew, my gravel, my money. I filed the private road declaration with the county before the first machine touched dirt. Everything legal, everything recorded, everything clean. The subdivision next door, Ridgemont Commons, had nothing to do with it. The signs weren't even the first move. 2 weeks earlier, I got a letter on HOA letterhead claiming my road connected to community infrastructure and now fell under Ridgemont Commons jurisdiction. According to them, I needed to register the road post HOA signage restrict access to non-residents and pay a road management fee. 14 days to comply. No easement reference, no filing number, no proof, just a demand dressed up like a fact. I emailed them that same night, calm and specific. I attached my county filing and asked one question: what exact county document gives Ridgemont Commons authority over my private road? Their answer came back slick and empty. Our records indicate otherwise. Please comply by the deadline. Then the HOA president, Vanessa Crowley, called me herself. Smooth voice, practice calm, the kind people use when they've pushed others around enough times that they expect the ending before the conversation starts. She talked about safety, traffic, community standards. I let her finish, then asked the same question. What recorded document gives you authority over my road? She told me those documents weren't shared at this stage. I asked what stage came next. She paused, then said enforcement. That word sat in my chest all evening. So I went back outside at dusk and walked the whole road, boots crunching on gravel I paid for, touching the survey marker at the corner like I needed to remind myself reality still existed. Then I went inside, spread every document across the table and started reading. I pulled Ridgemont Commons' own bylaws, and their language was crystal clear. Their road authority ended at the subdivision boundary. The next morning I drove to the county clerk's office and asked for everything tying my parcel to the HOA. The clerk searched again, then looked up and said, "Nothing. No easement, no covenant, no recorded instrument." Then I asked a better question. Had Ridgemont Commons ever tried to expand its authority beyond the boundary? She turned the screen toward me, and there it was. A formal HOA filing from 2 years earlier asking the county to let them absorb adjacent private roads. Denied. Flatly denied. Private roads on non-member parcels could not be absorbed without landowner consent and county approval. They had neither. I sat in my truck afterward reading that denial twice, and that was the moment the whole thing changed in my head. This wasn't confusion. They knew they had no authority. They were betting I wouldn't know it. That evening, I came home and found the signs. I didn't yank them out, even though every part of me wanted to. Instead, I filmed every one of them, date stamp on parcel number, spoken out loud, county road marker and frame. Then I called the sheriff's non-emergency line and filed a trespass report. 3 days later, Ridgemont Commons sent me a certified bill for $250 labeled road management fee. No contract, no legal basis, just a number and a deadline. So I answered with certified mail of my own. I told them clearly no membership agreement, no easement, no legal duty to pay anything, and their signs on my property were documented trespass. I gave them 14 days to remove them voluntarily. Vanessa didn't back down. She escalated. She emailed claiming the signs were a public safety measure and cited one of the bylaws, like she thought section numbers would do the intimidating for her. I checked the section. It applied only to interior roads the HOA actually owned. 2 days later, I came home and found 6 signs instead of 4 bigger ones, this time planted farther down my road. The new ones even had QR codes on the back linking to the HOA website, like repetition could turn fiction into ownership. That was when the twist hit. A man from the parcel just inside Ridgemont Commons' eastern boundary called me and said he had information. We met at the line between his land and mine, him on HOA, ground me on my road. He told me the association had a budget problem. A landscaping project had gone badly, over budget reserve funds had been hit hard, and dues increases were already unpopular, so the board started looking outward. He called them edge properties, adjacent parcels close enough to sound manageable if the owner didn't check the records. Then he forwarded me an internal spreadsheet from somebody on the inside who had finally grown a conscience. 8 parcels outside the HOA boundary were listed there, each one with estimated fee potential and a note about how likely the owner was to comply. I found mine. Likely compliant, no legal representation on record. That line changed my whole mood. Up to then, I'd been defending my road. After that, I was exposing a revenue scheme. So I stopped reacting and started building. I hired a surveyor I trusted. His stamped report came back exactly the way I expected. My road sat entirely inside my parcel. Boundaries touched no HOA infrastructure, and the subdivision boundary had never been amended. Then I learned the county had told Ridgemont Commons no twice, once in the formal denial I found, and again months later when they came back fishing for another way in. Same answer both times. No consent, no recording, no jurisdiction. At that point, I sent one final notice: remove every sign, withdraw every fee demand, or I would present the full record at the next public HOA meeting. The denials, the survey, the trespass reports, the spreadsheet. They ignored me. So on Wednesday night, I drove to the community center and sat in the 3rd row with my folder on my lap. The room smelled like old coffee and air conditioning. Folding chairs squeaked. Vanessa ran the meeting with that polished confidence people mistake for competence. Then she introduced a new item she called Expanded Road Management Initiatives, wrapped up in the language of safety and responsibility. When she opened the floor, I raised my hand. I stood up, gave my name, gave my parcel number, and asked one question: can you show the county recorded document that grants Ridgemont Commons authority over my road? The room went still. Vanessa answered the way she always had, with fog. Infrastructure, traffic, standards. I let her finish, then asked the exact same question again. Can you show the recorded document? This time a woman in the 2nd row said she'd lived there 7 years and had never heard of the HOA managing roads outside the subdivision. Then a man farther back asked who authorized signs on property the association didn't own. You could feel the room change, quiet glances, little posture shifts, that slow moment when people realized they may have been nodding along to something that never had proof behind it. I didn't even need to open my folder that night. The question did the work. 5 days later, the signs were still standing, so I called the sheriff's office and requested enforcement. The deputy arrived the next morning, confirmed on camera that my parcel was private, no HOA easement existed, and the signs had already been documented across 2 trespass reports. Then he pulled on gloves and removed them one by one. 6 signs, 8 minutes straight out of my gravel and into the county truck bed. No speeches, no drama, just the law finally catching up to a bluff. Vanessa called before noon, furious now, saying I had escalated a manageable situation. I told her I'd given them chances to remove the signs voluntarily and chose official process precisely so everything would stay clean and documented. She said their attorney would be involved. I told her that sounded overdue. 2 days later, they held an emergency board meeting, and this time their lawyer was in the room. When questions opened, I walked to the front, set my folder on the table, and laid out the documents one by one. Private road declaration, county clerk, confirmation, surveyor's report, denied expansion, filing the 2nd county rejection, and finally the spreadsheet. Then I read the note beside my parcel out loud. Likely compliant. No legal representation on record. That room went quieter than a church after bad news. The attorney read the paperwork, looked at the board, then finally said what I'd known for weeks. No recorded instrument meant no authority, no standing to charge fees, no right to post signs, no jurisdiction over my road. The board voted that same night to withdraw every fee, acknowledge no jurisdiction, and send written confirmation within 10 business days. Vanessa voted yes, with the rest of them jaw-locked tight. The letter arrived on day 9. Same road, same gate, very different tone. No threats, no fake certainty, just a written acknowledgement that my road was not under Ridgemont Commons jurisdiction, that no recorded instrument connected my parcel to the HOA's authority, and that no further signage would be placed on my property. Signed by Vanessa, countersigned by the attorney. I read it once, put it at the front of the folder, and went back to work. A few weeks later, 2 board members resigned. Edge property billing stopped cold. An official county boundary map showed up framed in the community center lobby, showing exactly where the HOA ended and where it had always ended. Other owners started asking questions. Some got improper fees reversed. And that's the part that stayed with me. Power gets real loud when it thinks nobody's going to check the paperwork. Property rights, on the other hand, are quiet. They sit in deed surveys, clerks' offices, half-buried markers, boring little filing numbers most people never think about until somebody greedy comes along and mistakes silence for weakness. The lesson I learned wasn't just that people will abuse authority. It was that a whole lot of folks mistake confidence for legality, and they keep mistaking it until somebody calmly asks for proof and refuses to move. The morning after the signs came down, I filled the post holes myself. 20 minutes with a shovel, gravel, and a rake. By the time I finished, the road looked untouched, smooth clean, like those signs had never existed. But I knew what had happened there, and so did the people who had to put their surrender in writing. That was the satisfying part. Not revenge. Not even victory exactly. Just truth documented so clearly that the lie finally ran out of room. So here's what I want to ask when somebody uses official language to push past a property line they know they don't own. Is that just bureaucracy getting arrogant? Or is it theft with better stationery? Tell me what you think in the comments. Who was right? Who was wrong? And have you ever had to stand your ground against somebody who thought confidence was the same thing as authority?